So number one is Galileo. If you want to throw his last name on there, your guess as to how to pronounce that is as good as mine. Galilei, maybe. Galilei, maybe. I'm not sure. But Galileo, I'm pretty sure about that part of pronouncing that. Two, if you recognize something you read in the reading, that's fine. So he's like around 1500, 1600-ish. He doubted Aristotle. He didn't think the earth was the center of the universe. He got kicked out of his university. Catholic Church hated him. They put him on house arrest the rest of his life. Whole bunches of things there about him. So any one thing would do, other than things that already made the quiz. So number three is kinematics. So you can't say he invented kinematics. That's why we already have kinematics on the quiz. Four is the scientific method. He basically invented the scientific method as well. So Galileo is really kind of a big deal. Five is the metric system, hence the metric prefix, little preview paper that appeared in front of you a few moments ago. Six is because it's based on powers of 10. Anything about tens would be good enough for me. Unlike the English system where how many inches in a foot? 12. How many feet in a mile? How many feet in a yard? What sense does any of that make? Nothing. Okay, so if you get a metric, it's like how many millimeters in a centimeter?
10.
How many centimeters in a decimeter?
10.
How many decimeters in a regular meter?
10.
How many regular meters in a decameter?
10.
Like we could go on all day. Why? Because tens are easy. You just have to move the decimal points back and forth a smidge here or there. 7 is the international system, or if you like Francais, the System International. SI would also work for me there. So international system, SI, go French, however you want to do that. 8, we're into words that we had on the other paper yesterday. Length is measured with meters. Mass is measured with kilograms. Time is measured with seconds. 11, we're into mechanics. 12 is derived. All of the other units, other than meter, kilogram, and second, are derived units, like square meters and cubic meters and meters per second, and all of the units I gave you on the paper yesterday that weren't meters, kilograms, and seconds. Those are all examples of derived units. 13 is the science that examines the relationships of matter and energy. 14 is 3.45 times 10 to a positive 7. 15, if their answer for 15 starts with 18, any answer that starts with 18 is wrong because 18 went above 10, and that's why that's a question on there. It's 1.8 times 10 to the positive 8. 1.8 times 10 to the positive 8. We'll pause the video. Okay. Tomorrow we'll look to go double quiz for the next series of days, which is actually going to be good news for you. Because the metric quizzes should be a nice way to pad your grade with 20, 20, 20, 30, 90 total easy points, with the fourth day getting you a little bit of extra credit. I think you'd all agree a little bit of extra credit would go a long way right now, because the quizzes, you miss some here and there, it happens, okay, but the last day we'll throw on 6 extra credit points. So this is usually where the grades will kind of like correct back to their normal levels, because right now the grades are a little bit probably making you grouchy, and it's okay. This should fix that over the next week. So metric system tomorrow, I'll give you the decicento kilo stuff, scramble them up, and you'll do the other columns. And because we did this in 7th grade together, we did this in geometry, some of you with me, we've done this in chemistry, some of you with me, we're now in physics, all of you with me. We've seen these before, so this shouldn't be a total mystery. We should be able to be pretty dominant on this. So quick helpful hints for people that haven't done this for the 4th time, maybe it's only 1 or 2 times you've seen this paper. If I give you the prefixes, it's pretty easy to do the symbols. Why? Just use the first letter. And most of the letters are little letters. The only ones that do the big letters or the weird letters is when you used up the little letter already. or if it's a really big number. Okay, so giga is the biggest number, so they went big letter. Mega is a big number, so they went big letter. Additionally, because milli already used up the regular M. Deca, I don't know why they didn't do a capital D for Deca. If I were French in the 1700s, that's what I would have done with Deca, is made it a big D. But they went DA. Also acceptable is DK, because that does differ from book to book in opinion on Deca, what to do about that. The weirdest one is micro. Why'd they have to go weird on micro? Both M's are already used for other things. So my suggestion on micro is write a cursive U. And after you wrote a cursive U, act like it's an M, because it also is. Cursive U is an M. They look the same. That's a Greek M, is what that is. So they used up the little letter, they used up the big letter, so they had to go into the Greek alphabet and do the micro symbol, but cursive U means M. Just make sure you have the spokes there on both sides of your cursive U. The numbers, I can give you some numbery kind of tips. Okay, the fractions tend to have that ending of I. So deci with an I, centa with an I, milli with an I, anything that ends in an I tends to be a fraction. Deca and deca and tens, we know all of us a lot of 10 related words that start with D's. Some 10 related words that start with D's? Decades, 10 years. Think money. Dimes have 10 cents. Think French. Dix is a D word. Spanish, we just uncovered in geometry last period, is a D word. I don't know it. Okay, so there we go. So D's and tens, they go together. Hecto is 100. Why does it make sense? Hecto 100. H's. Hecto 100. H's. Centa, some cent kind of words. To know that centa, century, 100 years. 100 cents in a dollar. Centipede, 100 legs. Check your grades. Out of 100. Percent. French. Cent. C-E-N-T. Any know Spanish hundreds?
Yeah.
Is it a C word? Yeah. Good. Milli. 1,000 for milli might remind you of other 1,000-based milli kind of words. Millennium, 1,000 years. Bugs. Millipede, 1,000 legs. French. Meal, M-I-L-L-E. Spanish. M word? Yep. So all of that stuff. Mega and micro and million linked together because they're M's. Mega, micro, million, M's. And the giga and nano, you're just kind of on your own. But we'll do a day from the prefix, then we'll do another day from the letter, do another day from the number, and then extra credit day is empty day. Anybody remember the ones we can sprinkle in on extra credit day? PICO, P-I-C-O. The symbol for PICO, P-I-C-O, is a little p. And it most resembles which number? What is PICO most like? Nano, but how is it slightly different?
Slightly smaller.
Smaller in size or smaller in how many letters you have to write?
Smaller size.
Smaller in size. So what's going to happen if we go to nano? How can we turn nano into PICO? 3 more zeros. If you don't have the willingness to write a fraction of that length, write 10 to the negative 12. Negative powers flip things to make fractions, and we want 12 zeros, so 10 to the negative 12 is the quickest way to write PICO. And then the other one? Femto, F-E-M, like M&M candy, F-E-M-T-O. Symbol is little f. And then, compared to PICO? 3 more zeros. So 10 to the negative 15, if you prefer. So when we do that on the last day, there's 6 points of extra credit for you, and 6 points of extra credit will put a nice bump on you in a few days.
Those are both fractions, right?
Those are both fractions, yes. Question about metric town. Reading, new reading, there's 2, 5 to 8, has 6 new points. And then compared to today's, number 1 stays there. 2 stays there. 3 will go backward. What is kinematics? Key word on kinematics is the word motion, which might remind you of what similar word to kinematics have you seen in science before? Kinetic energy is energy of motion. So the kina part should stimulate your memories back to motion, hopefully. Scientific method, we'll go backward. I'll ask you a 4-point question. What are the parts of the scientific method? And so different books will take you through different sort of exact phrasings of this. Mr. Kellner might have had a little different sort of viewpoint on this, but based on what our book, we're going to go with experiment is 1, analysis is 2, conclusion is 3, testing is 4. I think the chemistry book had a little different spin on that as well, but that's kind of the basic idea is you do an experiment, you try to figure out what happened, you conclude things based on that, but then you have to test it. One experiment is not enough. I don't know if some of you saw in the news, they did a study where the news broadcasted as people decided that the gaiters, those masks, they're called gaiters, G-A-I-T-E-R-S, like pull up, pull down, that those are worse than wearing nothing. That doesn't even make sense, okay? That was a study not even designed to try to test the effectiveness of masks. They did this study where they were trying to just see what are some ways you could even try to test masks. And so they tested like one person wearing a mask like that, one person wearing a mask with the double hooks, one person wear the doctor kind of mask like she has, one person wear this, one person wear that. Same person did all the tests. They only tested one of each thing, and the one person who used the one gaiter, it wasn't real effective on that person. But that could have been that gaiter. That could have been that person. It could have been because he did this. Like, you don't know. It's not enough to run one test, and then the news media ran this story across the world like, gaiters are no good. Maybe gaiters are no good. I don't know. But based on that test, you cannot conclude that. And the people that ran the test came out and said, like, that's not what we were even studying. But that story was gone because that's the way the internet is. All it takes is one person to run a story and it's out there and it goes forever then. I'll get off my anti-internet soapbox on that. But anyway, the testing part is like super important for the scientific method. You can't just go once and be like, well, we proved it. That's it. Gaiters don't work. You'd have to do different people, different gaiters, different trials, different kind of ways to do that. Well, let's see. Number 5 looks to be gone. 6 is still there. 7 is still there. 8, 9, 10 is a clump and it's still there. I'll ask you to name 3 fundamental units. So you would just write down meter, kilogram, and second. Those are the 3 fundamental units, 3-point question. 11, we'll go backward. What is mechanics? So you want to mention something about forces, but also energy. So forces and energy in a sentence will do it for mechanics. 12, we'll go backward. What are derived units? It's just a combo of fundamental units. 13 stays. What is physics? Is still around. And the mathy stuff disappears. So 6 new ones. And then I don't have the patience to do the blow-by-blow description of the other things, but there's nothing else really new on that. Question about quiz type stuff. Okay, there's no mathy notes to do today. There's no math in the reading that you did. The only math you have to do tonight, you might have done a long time ago, from 8 to 27, the B's. Some of you did that a long time ago. Some of you left that hanging. I'll collect the 8 to 27 B's tomorrow. 1 or 2 people did the C's and D's. You're overachieved on that because we're never going to do the C's or D's or turn them in. So if you did the C's and D's, you got some extra practice, but I'm not ever looking for that. Question about those things?